Welcome to Owen and Baru's Barbecue. We're dusting off the cobwebs tonight because we have all the chefs back in ready to make you something that the only thing we have left is this loaf cat food. Serving that up because that's the only thing featured.
Lives.
His legs look a little scrawny though.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll do. We have Chris, Nick, and myself. My name is Matt. We are here to talk about all things Ahsoka, the first 2 episodes of season 1. So if you haven't watched that, just jump off.
Probably shouldn't listen right now.
We're gonna just jump. Oh, there's the beeper. It's Chopper.
That's your final warning.
It's your final warning. That's it. From here on out, we're talking all things Ahsoka, spoiler free. Well, it's not spoiler free. Yeah. All right.
Well, it's spoiler full actually.
Spoiler full.
We're gonna spoil the hell out of these 2 episodes. So if you're again, this is your final warning. If you haven't watched it, if you don't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't be listening. You should probably watch those 2 episodes before you listen to this episode. But yeah, so let's get into it. So Ahsoka series, episode 1, Master and Apprentice.
Yes. Okay, so I haven't talked to you guys. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
No clue.
We haven't texted each other about it.
I've been trying to stay so silent from you guys.
Yes.
So
Well, you asked to be spoiler free, so we didn't say another word.
We're going at this raw.
Going at it raw. Okay, so my initial takes on it were it was hard for me to get past one character. It was as a fan of Rebels and this show, it definitely feels like it's a continuation of Rebels.
It's funny, like I wouldn't have thought you coming out with a negative.
Well, it just even my wife, who's watched Rebels with the kids and I, it was kind of our family show there. So she had a hard time with this character as well. So the other character that I know some fans might have issues with, it works for me. So
totally works for you. Who's the first character you're referring to?
Hera.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's hard for me to get past Hera. There's a couple things from Rebels. She had a more mom bod. By the way.
Yeah.
Hold on.
No, in
the cartoon.
the cartoon.
In the cartoon?
Okay.
Yes, in the
cartoon. Mom bod, she got them curves. What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying. She's got
naughty.
mom hips.
She's just drawn that way.
Yeah, she has. I'm just saying she's hippier than the actress that they decided to play her.
Yeah, that's a route that I didn't think you were going to take.
Figure aside, even her face doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. Nothing fits
my expectations.
And I can only assume that she got the role because of who she's married to.
Oh, we're looking at nepotism here.
Wait. Who is she married to?
Do you not know who
Mary
Elizabeth Winstead is married to?
No clue.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. Okay, that's a weird.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I had voiced a concern to my sister who also loved Rebels about. Yeah, you can always kind of go, well, does that character really look like him or not? But that was the only one I went, wait a minute. Because in my mind, Hera to me was either like an Indonesian or black woman or something like that. Just the way she was drawn. But that's no big deal. I mean, that could always change.
Sure.
But yeah, exactly. The attitude, the way she delivered lines, like I never felt it was
herself,
Hera.
It didn't feel like Hera to me. So that was like a hard part for me to get over immediately. Because one of the first scenes that we have with Ahsoka is talking to Hera.
Yeah.
Right.
And to me that felt like the clunkiest part of these 2 episodes.
See, it's interesting you say that, right? Because I think I have the opposite take from what you're thinking.
Okay.
And I say this because this is what one of my friends from work actually mentioned this to me. They said, hey, keep an eye on this and tell me what you think. And I completely agree with him. And perhaps it's just because it's the setup episodes. Clearly, these are 2 setup episodes for this series, right? Right. They do establish a few big things that they're going to be carrying on the rest of the series. I did not love Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka.
Yeah. That was
okay.
I had 3 concerns. I'm sorry, Chris, to interrupt you.
I'm saying I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate her. No, I don't hate her. Yeah.
But the way she's portraying the character, granted, it's been what, 5 to 10 years since the end of Rebels, right?
15, I think.
50, okay, even 15 years, right? Yeah. She is a muted version of Ahsoka.
That's like I've been dwelling on this thought as well, because that was actually my number one concern going into Ahsoka, because what we've seen from Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka so far has been very dry and stiff.
Yes,
and we're not, and it's like if she warms up to the role, or if there's something written where you actually see snips, like I want to see snips. I want to see
snips too.
Yeah, I want to see this lovable Ahsoka that we all can relate to, and we have not gotten it yet.
But did we get that from Rebels? We had a few moments peppered in, but they were very, very few in Rebels where we actually, because she did take on more of a mature role in Rebels. Yeah. So the feelings that I'm getting from her character are more of a place of like arrogance. Is that
I don't know about arrogance.
I'm thinking more of like
I didn't get this there's a connection between Sabine and Ahsoka that they're trying to set up. Well, and we got to parts of that in the second episode, but I never really feel that any of the characters clicked together.
I mean, I think that's going to be the overall arc of the series, right? I mean, obviously, because we end the second episode when Ahsoka acknowledges her as her Padawan again, right? So like that was a good moment, but I prefaced my beef a little bit by saying that perhaps this is just how they have to start it, right? Maybe we'll get more of that.
Yeah, because there's one line in particular that irked me just a little bit, but I understood why they put it in there, and it was when it's in those first dialogues where saying Thrawn's dead. He's been dead since blah blah. It's like, okay, they had to put that in there for non-Rebel viewers,
right, for sure.
There was a little bit of, or I wouldn't say a little bit. I felt like there was a lot of like, okay, if for the people that haven't seen Rebels and are never going to see it, we have to placate to you. Yeah. And I think that's the only thing that is frustrating for us Rebels fans. It's like we've been here carrying this torch. Don't talk to us like we're dumb, So
to make a point I wanted to make a minute ago. One second, Chris. About the way I think about the way Rosario Dawson is portraying Ahsoka now is the only way I can justify it in my brain is the same as the way Luke's trajectory in the original trilogy goes from silly to relatable to he's dead stone serious in Return of the Jedi because he's a Jedi at that point, and so that's the only way I'm thinking about it is like, okay, Luke was very placid in Return of the Jedi for the most part. I was like, that's the way I'm trying to justify it. It's like, okay, she's now become an adult, she's serious about what her mission is, and and so okay, we'll see though. I'm still hoping for snips.
Because she walked away from the Jedi Temple at this point, like 20 years prior. So it's like, or 15 to 20 years prior. So she's definitely a full-on fulcrum, right? Like, I don't know, but I think you're right though. I think there's like we're seeing a different Ahsoka than we know from Rebels, and I think we either have to come to terms with that, or perhaps there'll be something that's going to pop up, but. So I think we're all kind of in the same boat when it comes to like kind of how the character portrayal, if you will. But what did you guys think of the overall of the episodes and how everything went?
I gave them a solid B to B plus. I think they're solid. I enjoyed them. There's definitely some things I probably wouldn't have gone with, but they're nitpicky. They're not like big things. They're little things. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing there. I probably would have not have done that. But I actually enjoyed these two episodes better than I did the entire sequel trilogy. So that's saying something.
So that's saying something. And I tend to agree with you on this one, Nick, but I actually would probably give it a higher score. I give it an A. I actually really enjoyed both episodes. I thought they were fantastic. Nitpicking aside of the character portrayal, whatever. The storyline was great.
There's nothing major. I'm like, what the hell? That's good.
But here's one thing that I didn't realize this until after watching of how woman dominant both episodes were.
Right.
It was awesome. Like if you think back, you look at it, even what's his name? Baylor.
Yeah.
He almost took a back seat to his Padawan, which I thought was kind of cool, right? But just, I think it was even directed or written, or one of the producers was a female. Like it was awesome to see. Like it's just an all female driven storyline, which I thought was really, really cool.
And this is where it's done right. This is where it's done right. That's where you're getting a lot of this backlash from a lot of fans of different kinds of genres, because this, you wouldn't even think about it that it's all female.
I didn't think about it.
But when you come into it going like, this is all female driven, you're like,
to be female. You're right.
Like why? Like why? Just write good characters, which they're doing.
Right.
And no one cares.
I don't want listeners to think that just because we're like being fanboys about like, hey, this character Hera doesn't fit to my expectation of the show. Mm-hmm. That aside, to Chris's point, plot wise, I enjoyed what was set up. I like the nod to A New Hope at the very beginning of the first episode. That was really cool. Like the way that this ship came in, it almost felt like, and because I've been watching a lot of Star Trek, there was some Star Trek vibes because we actually saw the bridge of the. Oh,
dude, that was such a Star Trek bridge, like
right.
When he went, when the pirates came, or when Baylor came in, and was it Baylor? Am I getting that right?
I thought it was Balin.
Balin. Sorry,
yeah.
Balin.
No, that's okay.
A-N.
Total Enterprise vibe, right?
Yeah.
He's like, he's got these engineering to his left. He's his big captain. He puts his feet up like with his stirrups and stuff.
Like that was actually my first nitpick. Was and I get it's because it's the New Republic and everything is new, but like I was like, their uniforms are too clean. They're too like pressed. Like I was like, I'm used to the gritty Star Wars of like, nothing's perfect. I was like, your uniforms are too perfect.
There's a lot with it. I think there's a lot with the TV Andor aside. I think there's a lot with the TV production that tends to be a little bit more less lived in. And those are the moments, like we've seen it in Book of Boba Fett. We've seen it in Mandalorian. There's moments where we're kind of like, this just feels kind of like we put together the nicest uniforms or the nicest things. I don't mind seeing that aspect with the spaceship. It's more of kind of like that everyday living down on the streets or the grunge kind of aspect. Go ahead.
I do think they did a nice job of kind of like bridging the like that. The Empire's gone and we're building the New Republic, but it doesn't happen in a day. And there's going to be some holdovers. There's going to be some dissenters, which I thought was actually really interesting because it was very, very parallel to Andor in that sense, right? When with what's his name, the guy that was in Book of Boba Fett, the scientist. He's going through. And, Like it felt very, very similar to that, which I thought was really good because it's definitely relatively time frame-ish. I think it's around the same time, isn't it? Andor and
yeah.
Which I thought was really, really cool. Like I thought they handled.
No, Andor.
Like Andor's before. Yeah, Andor's before.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it's in between. It's still the rebuilding of the Republic, I should say. Like that's what that whole thing was.
So the second episode got a little bit more into that, the nuts and bolts of them tracking down this and this place on Corellia, right? Which that was the part where I was enjoying kind of seeing, and this was the one moment where I enjoyed seeing Hera kind of like throw her weight around is like, no, I'm a general. Like if this is classified, then I should be able to see it. So I liked kind of like a little bit of that crime drama of two detectives going in to figure out or solve something that felt very Clone Wars-esque, where you put these two characters together going in and finding something nefarious happening, and then the action battle set up. And then even the payoff, I know I'm jumping to the second episode, but I really felt like the second episode was where, and I'm glad they released that second episode because it really felt like
I think they had to. Yeah.
We were especially with that cliffhanger, right?
Well, it wasn't a cliffhanger, and that's kind of like I've read some people kind of complaining about that, and we can get into that later if you want. But just about like they've done that too many times now, where it's like, you know that she's not dead, so don't do that crap anymore. You know, and if they would have left it with one episode like that with a character you don't know, it's kind of like,
I think
I just realized the error of what I just mentioned a minute ago. Andor is like literally 40 years prior.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the rebuild. What the hell am I thinking of?
Mandalorian? And that
Maybe I'm
time
thinking
period?
Mandalorian. I don't even know. I don't even know.
But I guess like that, the cliffhanger moment and of, you know, Sabine being stabbed, I think we're supposed to see the folly of her ways, or like the fact that she's not fully trained, that she kind of left herself open for this, and she effed up, and she found out basically. What is R2 saying right now to us?
Yeah. Well, it's just like I was supposed to change this pod like a couple hours ago, so now it's going change it. Anyway, so my third concern going into Ahsoka had to do with Sabine, because Matt knows I'm not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy, and she had no say in the Ahsoka series, but she still gave a lot of thoughts to Filoni. And Filoni did allow some of her thoughts into his script, and one of them was that Sabine had to wield a lightsaber. And so that was one of my concerns going into it. Well, she didn't really show any kind of abilities with the Force in Rebels. I was like, let's see where it goes with it. I'm just curious. I've actually kind of enjoyed it, and the fact that she's just kind of a novice. She doesn't really have any skills. And I even liked in episode 2 the droid saying, like, of all the Padawans I've ever seen, you probably have the least Force ability. And so I was like, okay, so, now this makes.
Do you know who voices that droid, by the way?
No, I don't.
That's David Tennant.
Okay, that's where I saw his name. I saw his name in the credits, and I was like, "Where?"
I didn't realize it until after I saw a post. I saw a post on Instagram or something like that talking about him as the lightsaber droid from Clone Wars, right, or from Rebels.
So I basically just watched the episodes with my kids tonight, and probably like 2 hours ago. So I've really stayed. No fresh news, like just trying to like avoid. But I saw his name in the credits, and I was just wondering, like, who was he? I didn't even go back.
He kind of stole the show a little bit, right? I mean, say he had some of he was the comic relief of the show, which I thought was actually pretty interesting.
I like that they went with the no mouth movement, like C-3PO. I thought it was a bold choice for the robot. Do you have to have that? And we've seen this design of the robot in comic books and also in the cartoon Clone Wars. So to see him kind of brought to life, but the expression and some of the things that they did with his eyes, there's a moment where he's kind of looking down or kind of like looking sad. And so they really kind of carried that emotion just through eyes alone. But I like that they've done.
I loved that the interaction between he and Sabine in episode 2, right? Where Sabine was kind of a bit on her high horse, being like, woe is me. Well, what's her problem? She walked away from me. And he was like, well, you fucking suck. like you're one of the worst Jedis I've ever met in my life. You don't have the skills. You don't have anything. You got a lot to learn. And it was like, he just smacked her. I'm sorry, this is a non-inclusive podcast, but
it was.
It was until that point.
That's why I liked episode 1 and 2 with Sabine doing it. It's because, like, you clearly tell that she is not trained hardly at all. No. And it gives her room to grow if they make her, instead of like coming out going like, yeah, I'm a badass from episode 1. It's like, no, like she's got a lot to grow.
It would have been nice if Ahsoka had mentioned Kanan, because she did train with Kanan. And there was a moment where Ahsoka like was talking about her training with Ahsoka, but I almost kind of wish like there was a missed moment. I felt like with just even name dropping him.
But that's when I feel that they won't mention him at all, because there's
because Kanan is
don't know. No, don't do it.
Whatever.
Don't do it.
I'm just kidding.
I have a feeling they won't even mention him, because there's so many people who haven't watched Rebels, and there's so many, and they're like, who the heck's Kanan? Like they
it's a much bigger storyline to incorporate.
Where's Jason's daddy? Huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can always show the kid, but they just be like, "Oh yeah, your dad was a former Jedi," and that's probably how they'll leave it, and that's it.
Right.
I hope that if they do, like when they do, I want it to mean something. I want it to be but I felt like there was an opportunity there because she legit trained, like Kanan trained her with the Darksaber. So, I felt like she's had some saber training clearly with him. And then there's another period of time that we haven't seen where she clearly was training with Ahsoka. But we just don't see that.
And here's the reason why, in my opinion, right? So you think about like there's two big storylines they're going to have to weave in. If they add too many, it's going to be too much for the series. Number one, you're going to have Ahsoka is kind of going to be balancing between trying to be the master she never had, right? And there's going to be flashbacks. There's going to be there's going to be paid homage to Anakin and Darth Vader most likely. And there's also, you can tell they've chosen the storyline for Sabine, who's more tied to Ezra.
Right.
Like she's super emotional. The whole reason why she tried to unlock the map and go with her is because of Ezra. Like she's in love with Ezra. Like the hologram said that they're like brother and sister.
Exactly.
No,
that's what I was going to say.
She's in love with Ezra. I mean, it's clear, right? And they kind of spun that a little bit about how Ezra gifted her the lightsaber, and then but she modified it and she made it her own, which I think is kind of interesting. So that she didn't build a lightsaber, she just tweaked one, right? Which I think is kind of interesting.
I don't know if they'll ever, ship them, or what we want to call it, because that to me
come on, they've been shipping them ever since.
I know, but they've been doing that, but that to me felt
friend zoned her with that video.
Like, I'm shooting this down to where
she friend zoned him.
Yeah,
but in Ahsoka, he friend zoned her.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
He's like, I think of you like my sister.
Like my sister. Like, to me, I felt like Filoni going like, I'm ending this theory right now, but I don't know.
We'll see.
Well, brother, sister, maybe
he's taking a page from Lucas. He's like, I'm gonna make this brother sister thing even weirder.
Oh yeah, you can do that too.
I do want to tell not a joke, but my immediate thought at the end of episode 1 when Sabine gets stabbed, I just wanted like the Force ghost to Qui-Gon to appear and go like, am I a joke to you people?
Too late. It's already there.
Yeah, like, am I a joke to you people? Like, what's going on? Because how many people have we seen now, through Obi-Wan, through this, like, get stabbed with the lightsaber and then live, and you're.
It's weird. He was stabbed in his chakra. She was just off to the right.
Right where his midichlorians are produced.
Pretty much. He was stabbed in the midichlorian gland. So
we got a few more minutes to talk about. There's some interesting, characters that were added into the series thus far. This is our second time seeing a Loth cat on live action.
Oh my gosh, that Loth cat was
I think that made everybody happy that was a Rebels fan.
Chopper,
excellent Chopper.
My daughter said, I think Chopper's the happiest. Like she was happiest to see Chopper of all the characters.
Yeah.
This is my daughter who's like, she's been waiting for Ahsoka. Like she was just, I had to kind of have a moment with both my kids. I was like, okay, we're going to start this and I can't have you guys arguing.
Right.
About Star Wars facts and so
and then there's a character that I did not know about, did not expect, but an interesting surprise to have Morgan, I think it is, a Night Sister.
Right. That to me was very hard to accept. That was one of my nitpicks, because I was like, I don't believe her to be a Night Sister. I was like,
I'm fine with it. I like it. I think it opens up a lot more story ground.
I'm happy for it, but it's just one of those things where I was like, she doesn't look like.
Did Thrawn have any ins with the Night Sisters back in the day? I'm trying to remember from me. The book.
Those were wiped out in the Clone Wars.
And his whole connection was with the Chiss.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting, or maybe they'll bring in the Chiss, but it would make more sense, for him to have this other Chiss side out there, like searching for him.
And one more thing to riddle me. So what's his name? Balin.
Mm-hmm.
When talking to his Padawan about the implications of the return of Thrawn, he makes the statement, or she asks, "What's in it for us? What do we get out of this whole thing?" Some people get war. Some people get
war for some, and I forget, and then power for us. Yeah,
power for us.
More power than you ever.
More power you ever imagine. What could Thrawn do that's going to provide more power than they could ever imagine to Sith?
Do you want to know what my theory is? I don't know if it'll happen this season or not, but I think Balin will end up turning. I don't think because he's not a full Sith. He is probably what's a dark Jedi, if I had to bet.
Right.
And I think that whole story is going to be about the world between worlds. And I think that Thrawn is going to try, because from what we know, only a Sith or a Jedi can access the world between worlds. And I think that Thrawn's plan is going to be to try to use that to bring back the Emperor into this new world, to reestablish the Empire. But I think Balin, though, because like even that last line in the second episode of it would be a shame to kill a Jedi, there's so few left. That's not dark side thinking. And so I was like, that is a big tell of his personality.
Well, he said, and she said, is that emotion? He said, no, it's facts. And I was like, oh.
So I've been wondering, because we got this name dropped in the trailer, which was Ahsoka saying heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
Right. Which, alarm bells are going off in nerd heads everywhere. We're like, whoop, whoop. Like, what's going to happen? So, like one of my things was always like, oh, are we going to see Sabath? Are we going to see this evil Jedi Master from Tantus? Like they've teased Mount Tantus in Bad Batch, right? They've teased that mountain and the idea that there's this dark Jedi, right, that we meet in Heir to the Empire. So I was like, when seeing Balin, I was like, oh, maybe he's going to be Sabath, or maybe they'll try in some aspect of Sabath being a Jedi clone. Now, sadly, the actor has passed.
Right.
So
Ray, what's
Stevenson?
his last name? Stevenson. Right. He passed. He's like 50-something years old. 60 years old.
Sad.
Jesus.
And a good-looking guy. He looks like he was like had it.
Dude, and he crushes the role.
Yeah.
Right?
Like he crushes the role as a Jedi. He was awesome.
I mean, he's been in. I mean, I always remember him from Rome, and also King Arthur that came out like 20 years ago. He's always played good roles. What time? I thought we were going an hour.
Yeah, we are.
Oh.
Yeah. Chris, because for everyone out there, Chris was like, "Oh, we're running out of time." I was like, "No, we got like another 30 minutes."
My fault. I thought we were on 9:30. Okay. No. I was like speeding things along too. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that.
I guess I didn't read the text.
No, it's okay. But Ray Stevenson, had given more emotion and more expression through some of his things than I'll just say some other actors in this, So, even his Dark Apprentice, like she's got a very cool look. You definitely think that like they're setting this up where she's obviously going to face off against Sabine. Sabine needs to go through a montage and like right quick,
a Rocky montage or Karate Kid type.
Running on the beaches of some
Jedi temple somewhere. I gotta say, I'm excited about this season based on these 2 episodes. It's setting up some things. The Eye of Sion, is that what it was called?
Yeah, that's their warp drive or whatever you want to call it.
That was cool. I liked that as a concept. Like, let's take something and blow it up like the Death Star. And this time it's about a warp drive to go to an entirely different galaxy. So I love that concept as far as a sci-fi like
that little bit bothered me. Yeah, it's one of my nitpicks because, like, in my brain, looking at so many Star Wars maps, my whole childhood is like, I always thought that Thrawn and Ezra went to the unknown regions of within the same galaxy, and because we've read so much about them, I was like, oh, that's where they clearly went. And then to show an entirely different galaxy, I'm like, wait a minute. He's like, how far another galaxy is from a galaxy? I was like, that's, And
so one of the things that they showed in one of those diagrams or in the temple were the Purrgil.
Yeah.
And so my understanding from this, and perhaps this is where this map comes from, because how do you get a map for where Thrawn is if he's how is he going to leave this clue? No, the map has to deal with it's ancient, and I think it has to deal with this Purrgil, because the Purrgil clearly took him to this other galaxy. What else is going to take him there? So that's why they need this big, huge hyperdrive loop. So that to me,
it makes sense now.
It makes sense.
There's a lot of things though that like happened that I was already like going, no. Like, oh, not you. They're good because like showed where the map sphere was. I was like, wait a minute, are we pulling a Rise of Skywalker thing here where there's a MacGuffin, but they've only been disappeared for 15 years and you've got this ancient temple. What's going on here? Also, by the way, very Indiana Jones / Fifth Element vibes in that scene, which I thought was funny. But I did enjoy that. I got all kinds of stuff written down. But
I like that there is a logical explanation to it. That it's not completely just like on one hand, I was kind of with you there, Nick. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to podcast with two guys that are just gonna be upset about a dagger for the rest of my life. But the sphere map and the fact that it's a Rubik's cube and she figures it out,
that was neat. Yeah.
So I like those character beats with Sabine. And of the three, Hera, Ahsoka, and Sabine, I'm 100% in on Sabine's character. I even liked how she laid out the armor. She's laying out the armor. She's looking at the helmet. Vibes of episode 2, looking at the helmet there, kneeling down. There's that moment that references episode 1 where the apprentice is searching, for Sabine, and she's up on the hill like Maul. I mean, just
like Darth Maul.
I love those little, rhymes.
That's Filoni just swinging around.
I even like little things like the only images we had of Sabine up until the episode was her with the short purple hair. And I kept thinking like, oh man, you got to have more flair in there, for Sabine. And then when you see her, with the long hair, especially in the first episode, you're like, there's all the color and stuff. And then I liked how, how they cut it. And now she's, back to where she should be. And when she laid out the armor, I was really hoping for the checks, shoulder pads, the yellow, black. So I know she painted that differently a few back in Rebels, but I was like, like this is too plain. I want something else. But I enjoyed it. Yeah. And then like even Clancy Brown, who's been in God knows how much stuff in Star Wars.
Kelvin Inman.
And he's the voice. That was the great thing. He's the voice of
Savage. And then he's done so many other ones too.
His character, but I gotta.
The other cartoon character, that he does. Yes.
Yeah, like he is the voice of what is it? Because he's now governor, Ryder Azadi. So he's the voice of Ryder Azadi. So when he started talking, I didn't even have to see him. I just was like, "That's Ryder!" Like, awesome. And now he's somebody for the.
It's even better that when they made his character in Rebels, they made his character look like him, which I thought was really cool too. Right, so that makes a super easy transition to television because you're going to the source material. But yeah, very, very cool.
I mean, I'm trying to think of other than Bo-Katan, who else have we had that has been the voice as well as the actor?
Right. I think that's probably.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
So
that's really got chap the ass of what's her name who did so good.
Ashley.
Well, she couldn't have done it. She really because she's 5'2",
right.
But Ashley Eckstein, I've met her 4 or 5 times. One of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. And she loves that character. she does. She loves it so much.
She created it.
Yeah, basically. And that's what's funny when you hear her, because even me, when in 2008, when you went and watched the Clone Wars movie, I was very mixed on the movie because it was not what people were thinking it was going to be. You started in year or like at least 6 months into the Clone Wars, and you get this annoying little kid going, okay, Sky Guy, and all this thing. Like, and then Stinky and all these, like, what the heck is this stuff? And then just watching her long arc of how people loved her character so quickly, it's like, it's just great. It's a total success story of how to do a character.
it's got to be difficult to stepping into that role and trying to create that live action. And I mean, it's our biggest nitpick about this series is probably like that transition of all three of these characters. That's why we've probably spent most of my amount of time talking about that, debating it, wishing that certain things were better. But like watching that first Clone Wars cartoon, which it is long in the tooth, and you're kind of like, what am I doing? Kevin Kiner, though, using a lot of the music though from season 4 Rebels, which was never released on any digital platform. It's a crime, because there's some really great stuff in season 4 Rebels. So he is the musician for or the composer for Ahsoka. So it was exciting to kind of hear some of those moments, like even with the music as you're watching it. You don't even know it, but it's like he's pulling in some of those themes. Yep. So it'll be great when this is actually released on Apple Music or some streaming service, so that you can hear some of that music.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned this, probably just it's very subtle, almost like you felt like you're going into that, like that. What's it? I don't know what the melody is, but it's like the soft melody behind like Princess Leia / Luke going into like a the end of the movie type of thing, or like that feel good melody. And you're like, oh no, it's different.
Well, that's kind of what they always do, though. Like any after John Williams will put like a few bars or at least similar notes, and then they'll go into their own thing.
Well, kind of like how Giacchino in Lost, you had you had the variations of a melody for each character or couple on the screen, right? But I heard it for a hot second. I was like, oh, it's going to go into like a. Just kidding. It's a different one, but it still evoked that feeling, that emotion.
Well, and he did all of Clone Wars as well, so he definitely has a lot of history there with these characters and this subject matter. So, I was kind of surprised we didn't see Mon Mothma. I just kind of thought like that would be kind of like one of those, like,
I'm sure we will.
I'm sure we will. It just seemed like one of those characters that they might kind of throw in as an anchor point, or as like, hey, look at who's here.
How about Zeb? Are we going to see Zeb?
That's what I'm curious about too. Especially when we were looking at the Muriel, I was like, wait, are we going to see Zeb? We should see Zeb. I mean, we've seen him in the Mandalorian. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They did a really good job with him, or visually, I felt like in Mandalorian. That would be cool. I mean, they have to, right? I mean, it's kind of,
if he's working for the Alliance in the Mandalorian, and it's his voice. Like, why wouldn't Ahsoka? But I
mean, they're getting the band back together, all minus the the whiny bee.
No,
of the Jedi.
No, don't do that. Don't do that to Kanan. Okay, don't do that. Okay, he sacrificed his life for them.
So you think Freddie Prinze is going to show up as a Force ghost somewhere?
No, he's ultimately come out as basically saying, no, I'm like, that was it for Kanan. Like, he's been very strong and adamant that he said he didn't even like them using or him recording his voice for Rise of Skywalker, because he just he really was just like, no, my last appearance was this is it for my character. And he doesn't. So,
I mean, and that's one of those things too, where I think it's probably best not to have him, because no one knew that ability yet within the Force to become a Force ghost. Because even like they've shown that, I think, in Rebels, where even Qui-Gon is just kind of like sparkly stars because he hadn't learned everything yet.
Although, truth be told, one of those heartfelt moments from Rebels is when you see him kind of like as a Force ghost, putting his arm around Hera's shoulder. Right. I love it. Just it's so touching and sweet, So for anybody that's lost anyone, it's just I love that idea. So, I think I have faith in Filoni that some of the stuff will brew into a nice mixture as the season progresses. Any ideas of like, I mean, obviously Thrawn has been teased in the trailer.
Right.
When do you think we're going to see Thrawn? Are they going to hold it out? Or are we going to see?
I think it'll be towards the end of the series. I mean, because we don't know. I would imagine there's going to be more than just one season of Ahsoka.
I mean, we see him in full uniform, right?
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
he's like he will have been in exile, right? And he's not gonna be rocking his uni in exile. So I'm pretty sure
maybe he does. Maybe they've got replicators there.
Another interesting theory. I just trying to think of stuff to say. Like, so what would we even see? Not necessarily in this season, but in a future season. What happens when Thrawn comes back and you have like two factions of, the Empire, and then what eventually goes into the First Order? And would you see Ilum, the planet, start to be kind of like how we saw at the end of Episode 3 with the Death Star being created? Would you see Ilum becoming Starkiller Base at some point? Because this is happening right now. It's already happening. Because it's too big of a planet to just be like, oh yeah, we did it in 2 years.
You have the whole Aftermath series, which basically is the seeds of the First Order is set, and that's supposed to take place within the first couple years after. Right. So we could just kind of say that there's a huge amount of the Empire that is kind of like launched out and formed that. And then the vacuum is whoever is left behind with the Empire. So
see, my thing is this: is like I love Thrawn as a character, and I've read a bunch of the books and so forth, and I just I have a hard time believing he really gives a shit about the Empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he does.
So like, I'm curious, like, I mean, what that's gonna be like for like, because like. They're talking about bringing him back to lead the Empire, right? But he just doesn't give a damn. Like I think he's just there for the strategy, for the thrill of the win. Like and like that's what his character is. I don't think he's I don't think he's like dependent or like has any type of like alignment with the Emperor, so to speak, or to try and bring him back. I don't think he gives a damn. Yeah, I think from a strategy perspective, it's probably better to leave him dead.
Yeah, like, did you ever see the movie The Battle of the Bulge? It came out in the 60s.
No.
It's really good. You should see it. But like, there's I forget the actor's name, but the guy who was the captain in Jaws, the guy eaten by the shark.
Yeah.
It's when he's really young. He's still blonde haired, and,
super sexy
man at that. Before he's full of blown alcoholic.
It's a beast of a man.
But that's what it is. It's a German counteroffensive in the winter of 1944, and he's the leader of this entire invading force into Belgium. And I've always thought of Thrawn, of him like that character, and that he's what you're saying, Chris, and that he does not give a damn about anybody but his own ego and his pride, and he just wants victory. And there's a guy at the end of the movie that tells this character, this general, is like, you'll butcher the whole world as long as it keeps you in that uniform. And that's how I feel about Thrawn. It's like Thrawn is just out for the glory, for his own vanity. And that's it's
such a great character. He's such a good character.
I've always imagined Ezra and Thrawn crashing onto a planet or something like that, and them having to kind of survive some sort of enemy mine, kind of like mind games. I know I'm never going to see that.
I talked about that.
Yeah, I know I'm never going to see that, but I just love the idea of Thrawn using Ezra to survive, and Ezra like in this kind of mind game with Thrawn, knowing that if he helps him, he's going to be outsmarted or taken, hostage. So that's a big question too, as to what's happened to Ezra, and hopefully we'll see some of that.
I think you read it, Matt, like, Lords of the Sith that came out in 2016 or 17, that book. The same thing where like there's a whole kind of weird faction within the Empire that tries to shoot down Vader and Palpatine are both on a shuttle, and they get shot down, and they have to live in this hostile planet with everything trying to kill them. And it's like, they have to count on each other to survive, not just as master and apprentice, but like, no, this is for real, and it's an interesting book. It's not the greatest book, but it was entertaining. Yeah.
Well, sometimes, I mean, we do watch or read stories of Star Wars because we want that sci-fi. We want that sci-fi fantasy. So I loved seeing Ezra's lightsaber. I loved seeing the apparently she Sabine got a personal message from Ezra. I think the message that we actually see from Ezra at the end of Rebels is slightly different because it's addressed to the entire ship in that moment. So it kind of makes you like, okay, this was filler. I guess this we're just gonna assume that he had a special private message for her.
He said right into her DMs, dude.
Seriously. Well, we have 2 people on this podcast that are totally shipping them, and 1 person that is like, nope, they're brother and sister. It's not happening.
It doesn't. I mean, I don't care either way. It's just one of those things where sometimes I would just. It's kind of like even like with the Book of Boba Fett, like not every character needs a redemption arc, and that's what I felt kind of ruined Boba Fett. It's like, no, don't make him a good guy. I want him to be a scoundrel. I want him to be a ruthless bounty hunter. And it's the same thing. It's like not every single boy girl in any series has to have a relationship. Sometimes it can just be what it is.
So Book of Boba Fett, to redeem itself, should have a season 2. I'm just pitching this right now.
Slaughtering younglings.
Where he has to he goes back to the dark side, essentially. Yeah, being
exactly.
ruthless. Something happens to him so badly that it would pivot him into this darker kind of side. So, and he should be manipulated by other bounty hunters into this. Like bringing in IG-88 and some kind of.
You think they should just kill it?
Well, I don't
do not do any of this crap.
I don't think we've ever talked about it on Owen and Baru, but I felt where Book of Boba Fett went wrong is that it should have been a book of Boba Fett. Yeah, I mean, it should have been. It should have been. Times.
We talked about this.
Each chapter should have been a different time period.
Exactly, because then we could have gotten young Boba.
Or we could have got a young Boba and
teenage Boba connected.
And we didn't need 45 minutes of like buddy time with what do you call it? The sand people. Like Christ, there was a 44-minute episode about making a stick.
How many times have you seen? How many times did you see Boba Fett in a house robe? Okay,
a lot, dude. A lot.
I'm not trying to be, any which way on this, but I would like to see some other characters in house robes that are not Boba Fett.
Supposedly, though, it's a rumor, has not been confirmed, that he is in Ahsoka as Old Rex.
Oh, that would be really cool.
I don't. Like I said, it's a rumor. Yeah, but that's
that would be. I would love that.
Great.
Yeah. I saw that they've released a Black Series 6-inch of the Endor Trooper that looks like Rex because they've retconned him in. There's a bearded commando from Return of the Jedi. They
retconned that.
But they made him as an action figure. It doesn't say Rex though on it, even though I know. It's like, come on, you made the figure. You're totally setting this up. So all right, gentlemen, we have to keep this close. So but we'll be back. We'll be back again to talk more Ahsoka. And if you're wanting more of this 3, check out the Ramblecast After Dark where we cuss even more.
Yeah, wide open.
And we've gotten all of our Star Wars talk out of the way, so Jack can't complain.
He'll be happy.
That
right.
So
who would have thought I would have been the one to drop an F-bomb on this show and not Chris?
Oh, I did though. I did before you.
Did you? Oh, okay.
So I would say generally we liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I really liked it. I mean, I gave it an A.
I don't like.
We got B. But... here's we got a B from Nick as a whole.
Yeah.
You got an A or a B. I think you said B plus.
I said B to B plus. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
so I'll give it
86. I'll give it an A minus to an A. Matt.
I'll go B plus to A minus just to split.
Okay. There it is.
Because
there it is.
And the B plus is simply for it's hard. It's hard for me to get past certain characters. It's like that doesn't look like that person.
Doesn't look like it. Doesn't talk like it. Doesn't body.
It takes me out of that universe. So,
that's the only character that took me out was her.
Hera wasn't hot, but she is.
I mean, Elizabeth, she is an attractive lady, but not as Hera.
There we go.
Yeah, right.
And I don't want it to make it all about that. We did, and I did really enjoy a lot of the action. loved where this plot is going.
Yeah. Like you said, like Sabine, I'm totally 100% fine with Sabine. She's great. Even
Ahsoka, people are being weird about her.
I know. I don't get it either.
Sabine is fine to me. I liked her character.
Fine.
Actually comes off the page or off the screen to me more so than Ahsoka and Hera. And so for me right now, it's Sabine, Ahsoka,
and
then you can't see
100%.
my hand now because it's off the screen.
Way
Chopper's all the way at the top.
Chopper's always top. Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, exactly. I mean, as long as we get just a little bit, like just a hint of snips, then I'm fine.
I want some snips.
Some snips. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tune in next week when we'll have more. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, check out other stuff on the Jay and Jack Network. Go to jayandjack.com. Become a patron. Help this show out. Lots of people donate.
Let us know what you think.
Let us know. Do you remember this email?
I think I do. You can reach out to us about Ahsoka or anything else Star Wars at TheForceIsWellDone at gmail.com. That's TheForceIsWellDone at gmail.com.
Perfect. That's awesome. Okay. So there's a few patrons that make this show possible, more so than any of the other patrons. And one of them in particular was asking specifically for us to do this. So thank you to Maggie, still a Mandalorian.
That's right.
Ek hardly looks like Hera. Joe Anakin was my master.
Oh,
okay.
And Ed the Happy Loath Cat. Thank you all for doing what you do. And thanks for making this show possible. So
appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.
That's the first time I've actually thanked them and been sincere. I'm like, screw you guys.
The other podcasts reflect that. But no, thank you again. And join us next week. So this was a great show. It was 1 in a million, right?
Not bad at all.